In this video, the ultimate guide to starting an Airbnb business in Mexico in 2025. Imagine this, you're cashing in on Mexico's tourism boom, 40 million visitors last year, running your own rental empire with beachfront condos or colonial casitas, all while living the dream south of the border. It's not just a side hustle, it's a legit wealth builder if you can play it right. We're breaking down why Mexico is perfect for Airbnb, how to start, what you need, and how to dodge the traps. All fresh for 2025. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's get rolling. So why Mexico for Airbnb? It's a gold mine. Over 200,000 listings by 2025, up 25% from 2023 per Airbnb's own data. Tourism is insane. 40 million visitors in 2024, projecting 45 million visitors this year in 2025. Cancun, Mexico City, Tulum, these are the places that are beating the pack, or leading the pack, I should say. Prices beat competitors. 20 to 30 nights gets a studio in Oaxaca versus $80 in a night or more in Miami, probably like 200 in Miami. Demand is year-round from winter snowbirds, summer nomads. A lot of the cities in Mexico have perfect weather year-round as well. Some are more seasonal than others. And regulations are loose. There's no citywide bans like in New York or Barcelona. Here, you don't even need a license really to spin up an Airbnb. If you own a property, you can Airbnb it. So, how did this all start? Airbnb first came to Mexico in 2012 with 1,000 listings, slow burn. By 2015, tourism spiked. 35 million visitors. The peso dropped to 17 per USD back then, and listings doubled. Post-COVID 2020 saw Mexico stay open while other countries locked down. Bookings soared. 50,000 listings in Mexico City alone by 2022. Hosts piled in. Locals with spare rooms, expats with vacation homes. Now 30,000 in Quintana Roo, 10,000 in Puerto Vallarta, and it's not slowing down. This year in 2025, Tulum has a new airport pumping even more guests into Mexico. So I'm going to give you a quick 4-step or 5-step process for spinning up an Airbnb in Mexico and getting your business going. So number 1, pick your spot because location is everything. Mexico's Roma Norte has 80% occupancy at $60 USD per night. It's trendy, it's walkable, it's expat heavy. In Tulum, you're looking at 70% occupancy with $80 to $150 a night, jungle vibes, beach access. In the high season, it goes up to like $200 a night on average. Puerto Vallarta, again, 40 to 70 a night, 75% occupancy, ocean views, steady retirees, hot summers, but pretty year-round. And then San Miguel de Allende, 60 to $100 a night, 65% occupancy, colonial charm, artsy crowd, retirees, American expats. You got smaller gems like Guanajuato, where you can get 30 to $50 a night. Playa del Carmen, 50 to $80 a night, still pulling 60% year-round occupancy. Data is key. AirDNA, which is a good website you guys should check out, pegs Mexico City ROI at 8 to 10%, Tulum at 12%. But check the occupancy rates. Don't just rely on gut. The data is really helpful here. Step 2 is get a property. Buy or rent, that's your call. If you rent, you might need, clauses in the contract that allows you to do an Airbnb. That's why buying is always a safe play. Because if you, as I said earlier, if you have a place in Mexico that you own, especially a standalone building or house, you can rent it on Airbnb. So buying is big. You can get a $50,000 condo, a starter condo somewhere in Mexico, maybe Merida, 150,000 in Tulum. Renting is leaner. Also you want to budget for furniture, maybe a budget for other random fees, and you'll be good to go, right? Just pimp out the place, make it look really, really good. Maybe get a jacuzzi, and some of those experiential things, amenities that really make a good experience, that make your booking pop on the listings page of Airbnb. Get professional photos taken. That really, really helps with the click-through rate on your photos to your listing. Get all the little things that you need, microwave. I really hate it when places are missing a smoothie machine, a blender. So get a blender for my sake, at very least. But yeah, so you pimp out the place. And then step 3, the legal stuff. So Mexico is very chill, but it's not lawless. So foreigners, let's talk about residency for a second. If you're going to operate at Airbnb, you're probably going to want access to your Airbnb without any guesswork. So you're going to get 180 days visa free usually, but we'd really recommend getting a temporary resident visa in order to operate your Airbnb long term, to be able to come and go as you please, to be on site, and to not deal with any issues in the future. So MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration consultancy. We can help you get residency in Mexico. There's a lot of different pathways to residency in Mexico, and I guarantee you we have a solution for you. Even if you think that you don't meet the qualifications, still, we can make something happen. So book a call. There's a link in the description where you can book a call with MyLatinLife. We can get you residency in Mexico and help with the entire relocation process. But most importantly, get that residency so that you have access to this country that you're investing in, and you're not relying on tourist visas, which is kind of a flimsy thing to do. Okay? Other legal stuff beyond the residency, you're going to want to register your property with the SAT, which is the tax authority. Get an RFC, which is a tax ID number. You will have to file EVA quarterly tax filings. I believe EVA would be 16%, where Airbnb collects it and then you report it. So we can also hook you up with a local accountant or bookkeeper to help with these things. So local permits are usually not a thing in Mexico, which is really good. Like, you don't need a short-term rental license. But there are some towns like Puerto Vallarta that want a land use license. So you want to check your ayuntamiento, which is kind of like the local town hall type of thing. See if there's any specific restrictions for the town that you want to locate your Airbnb in. Step 4, again, set up your listing. We talked about this a bit before, but just to go over it again in a bit more detail. So get some pro photos taken. Not just an iPhone. You really want to get professional photos with good light. Highlight the special, unique amenities that you have, pools, views, etc. Price your property well. There are companies, property managers that can get involved and sort of do the pricing for you, or you can use the built-in Airbnb algorithm, and they have like a dynamic pricing system. You're going to want to set up the Wi-Fi with 50 megabytes minimum. I would say over 100 megabytes download and upload on the Wi-Fi. This might cost you $50 a month via Telmex, but guests demand it, and it can take a little bit of time to get someone into the property to install the thing. So keep in mind that it might be a little bit slower to get Wi-Fi set up than, say, in the US. Make sure you got all the amenities like coffee makers, fans, Netflix, and the goal is to get to superhost status. To do that, you're going to need at least 4.8 stars on your Airbnb host rating. You're going to need to have fast response times. But once you get superhost status, that's actually going to push your listing higher in the algorithm and allow Airbnb to show it more frequently. Okay. You want to have a killer description as well to sell the vibe. So you can write things like jungle retreat or steps from the Zocalo or remote work friendly to let people know what's up. Airbnb takes a 3 to 5% host fee. So that's something to keep in mind, all the different fees. I'm not going to go over all the fees in this video, but Airbnb will kind of outline it on their website specifically for Mexico. Step 5 is to launch the property and manage it. So go live, list it, tweak the price weekly. AirDNA can help here as well. When guests book, you might want to consider getting a lockbox if you're going to do in-person meetups to give them the keys, having a lockbox or an automated door. There's pros and cons to it, but it definitely makes for a smoother experience. You're going to want to line up your cleaners as well. You need reliable cleaners. You need backups on backups on backups of cleaners because you never know when a cleaner is going to be sick or whatever. Or maybe you're working with a property management company that's going to handle those cleaners for you and have those relationships. Because if you don't speak Spanish, it's going to be really hard for you to manage a cleaner yourself. So that's something to sort of consider. And then reviews. So again, I said reply fast, nudge 5-star reviews. Maybe you could leave them like a bottle of wine. Some people do that and they say, hey, here's a bottle of wine, at check-in. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. So there's little things you can do to encourage people to leave good reviews. And then you want to think about scaling, right? If you have 2 properties, that doubles the cash. You get to 5 properties, maybe you're hitting some economies of scale. So start with 1, then keep scaling properties as you can, obtaining credit and loans as need be. So what's the payoff? Obviously, it differs dramatically based on the property, but you can kind of look at it based on the average nightly rate and the average occupancy rate. So say it was $50 a night, 70% occupancy. That way you're looking at $12,775 annual income. Okay. Then you want to subtract your cost, find your profit. If you need a mortgage, you want to make sure that the property makes enough cash flow to healthily cover the mortgage. You want to think about the flexibility here and the payoff of having a flexible business, bringing in passive income. You can run it remote via co-hosts. You can get property managers, as I mentioned, and you don't need to be a tax resident of Mexico to do this. There will be taxes in Mexico on the profit, but it's not necessarily going to bring you into Airbnb's tax system for you personally, only just for the business. Okay. If you have questions about this, book a call with MyLatinLife, link in the description. We can really go over some of this stuff with you. So what are some of the challenges? Well, costs can really creep up, right? I think once you own a property taxes are very low. Electricity and Wi-Fi and all these things are quite low relative to the US and Canada. But you want to leave a little bit of margin for the variability, especially of electricity costs or gas usage, like natural gas. And think, maybe there's going to be some users, especially in places like Quintana Roo, they could have a $400 a month electricity bill. And so you need to figure out, are you covering that? Is the guest covering that? Sometimes guests get pissed if they show up and they get told that they're going to have to cover electricity separately. This is definitely a thing. So it's something to consider, and it's a balance between making the guest happy while also not losing money on your listing. Okay. You got to consider cancellations. You got to consider wear and tear to the property. A lot of these places are in humid areas of Mexico, and you got to think about mold, or if the property is vacant for even a week or two, mold starts forming and everything. So you really got to keep the property fresh. Taking a step back, how did this all grow and come to be? Well, Mexico's tourism has honestly skyrocketed. So it was about 20 million visitors in 2010, 40 million in 2024, and Airbnb really rode that wave. The peso has dropped about 20% since 2015, now hovering around 22 to the dollar, which lures in guests. So peso USD exchange rate does have a little bit of effect on the amount of tourists that visit every year, but every indication is that the Mexican peso is going to continue to underperform the US dollar going forward. Lots of expats as well, 50,000 Canadians, even more Americans are buying properties, they're listing. So there is a bit more competition, but there's just so much demand. As long as you can run a good property, you should have no problem making money. So how do you nail it? Research, doing your numbers, finding a good property in a good location, in a city that's in demand, maybe focusing on the expat market compared to the local market where the expats are going to have more money for these more expensive listings. Maybe try to go for the upper end of the market. And again, you really want to get residency in Mexico, which we can help with as well. So what's next? In 2025, 45 million tourists are expected. As I mentioned, there's new airports coming on all the time in Mexico. Mexico is really reinvesting in increasing those tourist numbers. They're totally open to tourists. They love it. The occupancy, Mexico-wide, countrywide, is about 70%, which has stayed steady. And in the peak winter season, it's at like 85% occupancy, which is huge. So your property is going to be fully rented out for months and months, and you're going to get that passive or semi-passive income coming in. So that's your guide to starting an Airbnb business in Mexico. Fast cash, big potential. If you like this video, hit like, share with your buddies, subscribe to the channel, put the bell on, and we'll see you in the next video.